Hey, welcome to Pro Football Now. I'm Maggie Gray alongside our former wide receiver Nate Burleson, our very own Andrew Perloff, and joining us today, rapper and artist, Harlem's own, Killer Cameron.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Cameron.
Thank you for having me. I
really
appreciate it. Absolutely.
Okay, you once had an album, Sports, Drugs, and Entertainment. We know that sports is a big part of your life. You drop references all the time from PJ Carlissimo to Marv Albert. I don't know how you work that in. Which one of these references means the most to you? How do you work that in?
Got a lot of knowledge.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, for what's going on at the time and, you know, trying to stay current and with rhymes also. You know, it's not easy to make sense and get everything to rhyme. So I think probably on What Means the World to You. I don't remember exactly who was playing for who, but I was like in, you know, Miami, I'm Timmy, referring to Tim Hardaway at the particular time. In Phoenix, I'm Penny. No, Orlando, Penny. Whatever it was, but What Means the World to You, I dropped a bunch of basketball players' names.
Do you ever find athletes will try to appeal to you and say, hey, you should put me in a lyric? Because when you do that, the athlete lives forever then in the song.
Yeah, actually, I did a song one time with Jadakiss, and we mentioned Mario Chalmers' name.
Yep.
And I seen him, and he was really appreciative about us doing it. Very, very appreciative, man. So.
He's won NBA titles. That's the best thing that's ever happened to Mario Chalmers, an NCAA title.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
So we know famously you are from Harlem, New York.
Yes.
Yet we find out when you come into the studio today, we expect you to be a Giants fan or a Jets fan. No, you are a fan of
the Patriots.
New England Patriots.
Can I
explain yourself,
come
Cameron?
on.
Real quick, before we jump into football, though,
Sure.
I'm from Harlem, and we get no Globetrotter games. You know what I'm saying?
True.
The Harlem Globetrotters, we should get one game for free a year. Every year, just for the people. You use our name, you go around the world, you make millions of dollars.
They don't come home.
And they don't come home. And they were originated in Chicago.
Harlem Globetrotters, y'all heard that.
Right.
Y'all heard that.
Okay, how'd you get to be a Pats fan?
Just basically, I love greatness. You know, I'm not a this year's Pat fan. I've been a Pat fan for a while. I like the way Belichick works, not necessarily even Tom Brady. I like the way Belichick works, no tolerance type of guy, and he gets the results at the end of the season.
Okay, so that's recent, though. Belichick didn't take over until 2000. So who did you grow up rooting for?
So also, real quick, we're all getting a little older because 2000 isn't recent.
I was trying to do us all a favor there.
Yeah, but growing up, to be totally honest, I was a Washington Redskins fan. I'm talking about cry when they lose, the Redskins pajamas. They used to sell the house phones with the helmet with the phone. Joe Gibbs, John Riggins, Art Monk. I was just a diehard Redskins fan, and I remember crying when they lost. I was really that much into the Redskins.
Can I jump in here, Maggie? So,
Joe
Cam,
Glassman, yeah.
I got to ask you. So let me get back to the Patriots for a second. You said you love greatness, and it's about Belichick, and that's the reason why I think everybody loves the Patriots if they're a Patriot fan. You being Cameron, and some would say the Belichick of Dipset, one of the hottest hip-hop groups, right, of all
Thank you.
time.
Appreciate that.
How does he do things and you do things, and how are they similar? Is the question I have for you.
Let me give you an example. This is great. So, you know, at our peak, I'm talking about when everybody was moving at one time.
Right.
When we was on tour, and this can't relate it to football, but I'm just saying mentality-wise. To keep everybody sharp between towns, what I would do is I would have all the artists battle each other every day at 5 o'clock. So basically every day after we left every town, you had to have a new rhyme every day, and we would videotape it, and you would have to. So if you guys were my artists, and we're on tour, tomorrow you better be ready, you better be ready, you better be ready, and y'all would battle every day at 5 o'clock to stay sharp every single day for 2 months on tour.
Yeah, you said it doesn't relate. That makes 100% sense because the Patriots, they say it's a revolving door. Every day you show up, you got to earn your spot, which is why you always see young guys coming in and making a name for themselves, and they might not necessarily be there a week from then or even a year from then. So that makes perfect sense. I didn't even know that, though.
Yeah.
That's a great story, but I'm just curious, like, okay, so say Joel Santana's battling Jim, right?
Right.
Whoever loses, like, do they got to go? They don't get on stage that night?
No food, no nothing.
Just
Give me all that.
Let me tell you something.
We're from Harlem, so when you lose, losing hurts more than anything because when you battle, people go for the jugular. You know what I'm saying? So let's say it was Jim battling J.R. Wright or Hal battling Joel Santana, whoever. They would say something to hurt you. They would say something really harsh. So tomorrow, you're going to say something even harsher to come back because it wasn't just like a battle like, it was who?
Yeah.
Oh, man, he said this. So now you're looking at him like you may want to fight.
Yeah.
It's like, how many of these ended in the parking lot?
Right, almost. I didn't let it get that far, but a couple of them almost did get that far.
All right.
It's fantastic. And a little look behind one of our favorite, of course, groups and a little bit of your mentality. Let's keep talking about the Patriots, Cameron's favorite football team, because when they are involved, there are two really overarching narratives. Either you think Tom Brady got hosed by the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell in a massive smear campaign, and it would really only be fitting that Brady finished the revenge tour with his 5th Super Bowl. Or you think Brady and Belichick have a long history of playing fast and loose with the rules, that they are cheaters, and that you'd rather have Bane win the Super Bowl than the Pats. So, Cameron, I know what you're going to say. I'm going to actually have these guys jump in. Nate, are the Patriots, are they the good guys or the bad guys here? Do they deserve to win the Super Bowl or not?
Deserve? Yeah, 100%. They're here. I like to say all the time, at this point in the year, you take everything at face value. They've earned this spot. You look at what they had to go through. They didn't have Tom. And then when Tom comes back, Gronk goes down. And then you're saying, well, where's the production going to come from? LeGarrette Blount, he leads the team franchise record in rushing touchdowns. And then Deion Lewis, he was hurt at the beginning of the season. He makes a little bit of an impact, not a huge impact. And then wide receiver, why we're thinking, who's going to be that guy? Edelman, Hogan, Amendola. All these guys have made plays. And because of the Patriots, because they've been so good, and because they've been most hated for so long, I feel like everybody still wants to hold that title over their head. I say forget that. Watch that. If they win this season, this is going to be the one season where you can't nitpick and pull anything out and say, oh, there's an asterisk. No. They just went out, kicked everybody's butt, and earned the championship.
See, that we'll find something to nitpick because it's the Patriots. And I'll tell you why we hate the Patriots. Sorry.
You hate winners.
No problem.
We hate winners. We hated the Yankees. We hated Duke basketball, Grayson Allen.
Hated Kobe, hated Mike when he was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, but this one is a little bit different, right? If you believe Deflategate, and if you believe that there was some nonsense going on, then you believe the Patriots were cheating. That's why people don't like them.
Atlanta got caught cheating. Nobody cared.
That was crowd noise.
That was crowd noise. Nobody cared because they're not the Patriots. If you get, Grayson Allen trips somebody on Duke, everyone's, I hate Duke. But if somebody on the Patriots does something, it's amplified because they've been around for so long.
Yeah.
They're so good that we build up this resentment. Same with the Yankees. I feel like they're the Yankees of the NFL.
These guys said everything that I would absolutely say. And they're not even Patriots fans.
I know.
Yeah.
100%. If it's the Patriots, they're going to be mad. I think that they use the rules loosely until you get caught. And even when they get caught, they pay their fine. They keep it moving. People talk about it for years and years and years to come. Like he just mentioned, what's going to be your excuse this year? And like he mentioned, you'll find one.
Right.
Just playing a little devil's advocate for you guys. I'm all pro-labor here. Roger Goodell said today that it would not be awkward if he has to hand Tom Brady the, Lombardi Trophy or even the MVP.
Right.
Do you believe him?
I don't believe him. I think that's a lie. I think that he didn't want the Patriots to make it to the Super Bowl. And he can act like it's not awkward, but everybody knows it's going to be an awkward situation because even if he doesn't make it awkward, Tom Brady have a look on his face that'll make him feel a little bit uncomfortable, like, you didn't expect this, did you?
Just grab it and kind of turn his back.
A little bit of tension in
Give
there.
me that microphone. Right. Okay, still some lingering questions out there about both of these teams. Let's get into a little bit of the X's and O's here.
Okay.
The first one is really about the Atlanta Falcons. And we've just seen in the last 2 playoff games, and they've got off to a hot start, they've kept their foot on the gas, and it's led to blowouts. Nate, how will they do if they are struck with some kind of adversity in this game, especially early on? Can they overcome it?
Yeah, they can overcome it. We've been waiting for this Atlanta team to be the Atlanta team of old. We saw them last year, 2015. They started so hot, and then they tanked off, and they kind of imploded during the year. Matt Ryan hasn't had that one defining season where we can say, okay, finally he's elite. This is it. He's possibly the MVP. The thing about this season is they have had ups and downs. They haven't just rolled past everybody. They've had to battle back and bounce back. People forget, because they're in the Super Bowl and because we keep talking about this offense, that they went out and beat up on 2 really good teams, the Seahawks and the Packers. And not to mention, those 2 teams are led by Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. So you want to talk about adversity. Even though Atlanta had the week off and was still the number 1 seed in the NFC, or the 2nd seed in the NFC, everybody was thinking that the Seahawks were going to come in and win, and the Aaron Rodgers was going to come in and win. So they dealt with all the adversity. They dealt with all the hate. They dealt with all the doubt. Now they just got to go out there and win it.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks game, they were losing. You know, they came out and Seahawks punched them in the mouth, and they didn't fall at all. They weren't, you know, they had big bad Richard Sherman and Michael Bennett and Russell Wilson. And I thought that Atlanta was going to panic a little bit, and they did the opposite. They turned on the gas when they were down. Green Bay didn't seem to scare them either. So it is a good question. And I wonder, is it like, because Atlanta, we always think Matt Ryan can't win the big game. That still lingers, even in my head. I know, like, in the past, so at some point you have to put that behind you and say this is a new team.
Especially this year.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I'm going to be totally honest. I haven't been keeping up with the Atlanta Falcons this year until I seen the game last week against Green Bay, and I was like, wow, this offense is really high-powered. You know, I don't think Seattle's defense is what it was 2 years ago, and I'm not giving Green Bay's defense an A+ either. But so seeing that offense against those two defense was like cool or whatever, but the Patriots have a pretty good defense.
They have the number 1 scoring defense in the league.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens this week, but I'm not going to lie to you. Watching that offense last week was really great.
Yeah, and we love to say that defense wins championships, right? And if the Patriots got the number 1 scoring defense, you might say, okay, with Tom Brady, Belichick, and his defense, they're going to win. But offense has gotten the Atlanta Falcons here to this point. There hasn't been a team that has absolutely shut down this squad. And what we saw last week at Julio Jones, if you don't got an answer for him, you got problems.
Okay, so following up on that, another lingering question is the Falcons, or can the Falcons defense be as opportunistic as the offense has been all year? There's really not a lot of statistics that are going to back up Atlanta being this great defense. We just know it when we see it. You know, what we're watching right now is a disruptive defense, but Nate, can they be that, you know, factor for the Falcons?
100%. And, you know, we're not talking much about this defense, but let's just take the postseason, because this is the time of the year where whatever we've seen is who they're going to be in the Super Bowl. They've got to the quarterback, 5 sacks, forced 4 turnovers. They've held teams offensively to 20 points. So if they're holding offenses to 20 points and they're a high-powered offense could put up 30 plus, then something has to give. And usually that's Atlanta being favorable and winning the game. So, yeah, they're opportunistic. They're going to get hits on the quarterback. That hit that Poole had on Aaron Rodgers last week was the hardest hit I've seen all year. I'm surprised that Aaron Rodgers bounced up. So
and everyone saw it coming except for Aaron Rodgers.
Except for Aaron Rodgers. So, and I think because we're not talking, there's a guy right there, Keanu Neal, who was an absolute banger, but we're not talking about this defense. And as a player, trust me, when there's a lot of chatter about your team and it's not about your side of the ball, you start thinking about that. You're like, okay, well, let's give them something to talk about. Yeah, I get it. Our offense is good. But this defense can make plays, too, and I guarantee they're going to try to make a statement in this game.
Yeah, and think about the last time we saw Dan Quinn, the head coach, in the Super Bowl. Remember what he did to Peyton Manning as the Seahawks coordinator?
Super Bowl
that was
48.
his game plan, too. And he just took a high-powered offense like New England and embarrassed them. Now, Brady doesn't turn the ball over, so I'm thinking about that opportunistic thing. I don't know. I don't totally see that happening. But like you said, how much defense do they need? Just keep it under 30, and you got a great chance to win.
To be totally honest, it was a point in the game last week early against Green Bay, and I don't know the guy's name. And I was like, Green Bay could get back in this thing. The running back was probably at the 7-yard line, and he made a strip. And I was
Ripkowski.
Like, there you go. They made a very important strip. And to me, that was pretty much the momentum turner because I was like, Aaron Rodgers could get back in this game if they score. But that kind of broke the momentum that Green Bay was about to have. And then that high-power offense went to work.
You know, that just goes back to Dan Quinn, right? That is the defense that the Seahawks used to have, the strip. You know, they're always going for the strip to try to take it away from
And here's a tidbit that I've learned just a couple of days ago. Peter Schrager spent some time in Atlanta, inside that facility in Atlanta. He said that in the offices, in the meeting rooms, they have a ball attached to a stick that guys have to rip when they're in and out of each door, and they just yank on the ball and practice ripping the cord of that lawnmower and trying to get the ball out. So you talk about opportunistic. These guys, they want to get turnovers. Do they get them every game? No. But when they have a chance like they won against Ripkowski, it changes the game.
They're just so young. I wonder about the big stage of the Super Bowl, but we should talk a little bit more about the Patriots because for as great as they've been, and they have been great, we really haven't seen them face, Cameron, a team that not only had an elite quarterback, but had all of their offensive weapons healthy. Does that make you nervous at all as a Pats fan?
Not even a little bit. Like
The joy of being a Pats fan. Not even a little bit.
not even a little bit, because great point he just made. This is their stage. This is where they've been at the last 10 years. They're used to the big game. Are the Atlanta Falcons ready for the big game? So to me, it doesn't matter if it's if it's a great offense like Atlanta or if they have the best defense. The Patriots are ready for this stage, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, but all the Patriots, right? We saw Chris Hogan, who I think is great. What a great story he's been.
Right.
Not so sure-handed on a couple of those catches.
Yeah.
You wonder a little bit about the big stage of the Super Bowl, and I think this is part of the brilliance of Belichick, and I will totally give him credit for that. You don't ever have the same guy 2 weeks in a row being the guy, obviously, aside from Brady. I mean, they explain how this team is able to scheme that way.
It's very genius. You know, I like to say all the time that Belichick is playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. I mean, he's very strategic. One guy will go off one game, and the next game, it's a completely different individual.
They'll like deactivate him.
So, exactly.
Just for fun.
So how do you game plan for that? I mean, you look at the flea flicker in that last game. Chris Hogan's in the slot. He comes down. He's faking like he's blocking a safety. Of course, Keanu Neal's going to attack because he's thinking, oh, this is a blocking receiver. Let me go ahead and attack and get a jump on this run play. He goes right over the top. But what's genius about that is you're going to go into this next game, the Super Bowl, expecting 1 and 2 trick plays, and everybody on that roster from a skill position standpoint can line up anywhere. So there is no telltale signs. All these things that give players an advantage defensively because a team lines up a certain way or certain guys a certain place, they don't have that. Because when you walk in that locker room, and we kind of talked about this off air, and Cam was saying that guys walk in that locker room, they got to learn so much. And Ocho Cinco, when he got there, he even came out and said it, man, this playbook, it's just so much for me to wrap my head around. That's because you don't just learn your position. You learn everybody's position. And the genius of not having the same player week after week, that puts a lot of defenses in a bad position, and we'll see if they can take advantage of that in the Super Bowl.
No, it's interesting, too. The Patriots were so good for so long. Think of 2007 with all that offense. But then they developed this running game. They drafted for a running game. They brought, and they got linemen who could run block.
Yeah.
So not that they're going to run, but they can run.
They can.
So you don't know. Like most of these great passing teams, you're not scared of the run.
Right.
Green Bay, you didn't even think about
Right.
it. How do you know? It could be a Blunt week, could be a Lewis week, could be a Bennett week, could be a Hogan week.
Blunt had 2 yards going into halftime.
Yeah.
And then he gave us one of the best runs of the postseason when he almost carried the whole entire organization into the end zone.
Yeah, but if he has a bad game, what's the difference? There's going to be someone else.
Yeah, what I say about the Patriots offense, me personally, is they kill you with a million little cuts.
Yeah.
Tom Brady throws for 3 or 4 yards.
Yes.
It's the yards after the catch also. So they kill you with a bunch of little cuts. And like you said, with Blunt, they added a running game. I just think Belichick, part of me, is just genius.
Yeah.
Genius, man.
He really is.
Yeah, you mentioned that great game plan that Dan Quinn had against Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos when they played Seattle in Super Bowl 48. I think he will have the game plan against the Patriots. I just don't know if he has the guys. I don't know if they can execute that against the Patriots, who have shored up their offensive line from a year ago significantly and has given Tom Brady so much time. All right, we know that Atlanta, if they do win, I mean, so many hip-hop artists are probably going to try to be the ones to create that Super Bowl anthem. I mean, Cameron, you created an anthem to New York City.
Right.
When you do something like that, it is significant for a fan base. If the Falcons win, who do you think would be that rapper that steps forward, or maybe even a collaboration?
It might be all of them. It may be all of them. Atlanta, over the years, has, created so many great hip-hop artists, and I've been watching this last week, every hip-hop artist has something to say, from T.I. to Big Boy to everyone. So I don't know. To be honest, it's about who's fastest. It might be done already.
For real.
Yeah, seriously. It may be done already, and if they win, they'll just push the button. But, it could be anybody from T.I. to Jeezy to Future. But if I had to bet on one person, I would say that it'd be 2 Chainz.
Oh,
2 Chainz.
2 Chainz, yeah.
2 Chainz could come with an anthem.
Yeah, I think it's done.
Look, I'm just a fan of hip hop, so I'm not gonna sit up here and tell hip hop what to do. But I feel like this new generation, they capitalize fast. The millennials, they hear something, they see something like, oh, I'm gonna make a song about that.
Right.
So nothing against you young fellas, but
Right.
Mumble rappers, stay away from the anthem. Because if you're mumbling, I don't even know what words you're talking about. But who I would like to see get on the anthem, which would be crazy, and I think hip-hop needs it, and we've been waiting for a long time to get back in the scene, Andre 3000. Like, what's up,
How
baby?
about an Outkast reunion?
Outkast reunion, give us something, give us an anthem.
You know
That'd
what's
be
crazy?
great for hip-hop.
You know what's crazy? And not to burst everyone's bubble in Atlanta. I actually seen Andre 3000 2 weeks ago, and he said he moved to New York. I seen him in the studio. So,
Oh, you seen him in the studio, though?
yeah. No, definitely seen him in the studio. I actually posted on my Instagram, and he said he moved to New York. But I was, seeing Andre 3000 is like seeing Bigfoot.
Yes, I seen the
You know what
unicorn.
I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Especially in the studio.
yeah, and it's like, he's one of my peers, but it's like, it's Andre 3K, so
Yeah.
you don't see him like every 10 years. So.
Yeah, that's facts.
But he said he moved to New York, but I would love to see that also.
Yeah.
My vote, Gucci Mane. That's what people tell me.
Okay, Gucci, man.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
dog.
little known fact.
Okay, dog. Okay, dog.
Your guys tell me to say that in the back.
Hey, Gucci Man hot right now since he got out. Gucci Man been on fire.
I
That's
was
a
going to
good
say,
one also.
Andrew was actually waiting for Gucci Mane when he got out of
Yeah,
the joint.
I was the one who picked him up. You know
Welcome party. Welcome party. I'm still holding out for that Outcast. I think that's great.
I think
Cameron,
that's the best one, though.
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here, talking
you for having
football
us.
with
I
us.
appreciate it.
And congratulations, new album, Kill a Pink. You got all these movies happening right now on Netflix, too.
Yeah, definitely have a movie Percentage that I shot with my partner shot Kim and Queen Latifah. I have my own color, Killer Pink.
Yep.
It'll be in Crayola, Home Depot, paint stores also. And you go to Dipset USA and buy all my merchandise also. And,
Love it.
And the Killer Season, the movie, also will be out this May.
Yeah.
True story. I got the Dipset shower curtain in my house
Up
right
high,
now.
up high.
It's camouflage
Hip-hop
with
head.
Dipset.
Hip-hop head.
That's what's up.
Crazy.
Well, a little known fact over at our house, Dipset shower curtain. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, with one more game to go, the final chapter of this football season is yet to be written. But here's a look back at everything we've seen in the NFL's 51st year in less than 2 minutes.
Super Bowl 51 is set, but how do we get here? It started September 8th. 32 fresh teams had Super Bowl dreams. The reigning champs waved goodbye to a legend and turned the reins over to a no-name. Some stars were missing, left nursing their deflated balls, while others were left nursing their hunted heads. Some were off on the sideline, but still making noise. And others were rebels, without a cause. Star QBs went down with injury. One thought they had found a savior, and one actually did, with a little help from a friend. Domestic violence reared its ugly head yet again, while an incandescent young stud ran right past his brutal history. Bandwagons gained followers, and then fell apart. Losing Megatron unleashed Matt Stafford. Raider Nation rose to prominence once again, only to have their dreams broken, along with a leg. Other young QBs got close, while the Browns and their 5 signal callers were almost the worst team ever. Hey, certain playoff hopefuls weren't far behind. Through it all, kickers whiffed, Brock was never worth the price, and Washington's still not sure if they like that. LA's new team floundered, but that didn't stop a second team from bolting home for Hollywood. Young coaches lifted new teams into the playoffs, while familiar faces unblinkingly steered the ship. For once, no coaches were fired on Black Monday, because 5 were let go beforehand. Some playoff locks were left on the outside, looking in, while others promised to run the table, and did. Then came the playoffs, which meant blowouts, except for one glorious game. One team did what it always does, while another finally got over the hump. After months of snaps, throws, runs, fumbles, kicks, picks, and wins, it all comes down to Falcons Patriots. Super Bowl 51. Let's go.
Last year, more than $130 million were wagered legally on the Super Bowl. This year, that number is expected to grow, and much of the gambling money goes to often ridiculous prop bets. Here, on the PFN Play Clock, we're going to debate some of Super Bowl 51's juiciest props. SI NFL editor Melissa Jacobs and producer Dave Sepperson, purveyor of the hottest takes in the SI newsroom. Well, you'll each have 20 seconds to state your case, and I will be the judge. Got it?
Already?
First up, Lady Gaga's halftime performance, and which song she'll lead the show with. Bad Romance has the best odds at -115, and everything else is a relative long shot. Born This Way, Edge of Glory, Just Dance, and more. Melissa, let's start with you. I get 40 seconds on the clock. and go.
Okay, so I want to win some money here. I think Lady Gaga is going to go with Born This Way. She's very politically charged right now. This is a very feminist song. It's about acceptance of all people. I think she's going to want to send a message to the worldwide stage immediately. And it's just a good, recognizable song that I think she'll build into some of her more popular songs from that point. So.
All right, so Lady Gaga is not really in my wheelhouse. If this was like AC/DC, I'm betting the house. Choose the thrill. We got a lock. Because it's Lady Gaga and I don't really know, I'm going to take the 2,500 to 1 odds with Poker Face. Try and win some real big money. You know, she's started with that before. I think you dim the lights. Mama. I don't know. It could be cool.
I personally had Edge of Glory, but I got to say your case was compelling, Melissa, so I got to give this one to you.
Thank you.
And we're going to stick with Gaga for number 2. As you said, she's a little politically charged right now. So will Lady Gaga say Trump at any point during the halftime show? Right now, the odds have yes at -140, so good odds on yes, and no is at +110. Sep, we're going to start with you. Let's get 40 seconds on the clock and go.
All right, this to me is the lock of the millennium. Lay the 110. You're going to make that money. There is no way she's going to say his name because it does nothing for her and it does nothing for Fox. I think this halftime show is so pre-produced, they know exactly what's going to happen when. There's no way it slips in. I'd be stunned.
Okay, so I agree with you on the no, but I think it's just because she's not going to say his name. I think she's going to say POTUS or president or have some reference to him. There is a 7-second delay, so we might hear a little bit blip or something, but when that happens, we're going to know that she said it. And not the name itself, but she's going to reference him.
I think she might go so far as to actually say the name.
No way.
So I'm leaning Melissa
No way.
again, giving you this. Right now
Okay.
we've got 2-0.
That's fine.
Melissa
That one I'll
Jacobs.
take all the money and I will, the next day, I will be counting my money and you guys can enjoy your win.
Okay.
Next, we're going to pivot away from the halftime performance and go to the commercials. And everybody's favorite spokesperson, Peyton Manning. Now, how many commercials will Peyton Manning appear in during the broadcast? The line is at 1.5. Melissa, let's start with you. Peyton Manning, over under 1.5 commercials, 40 seconds on the clock, and go.
Okay, this is tough because he's becoming a little less commercially relevant, but I'm going to go with the over. I don't know Papa John's ad buys yet, but I'm going to go with 2. I don't think Peyton will be holding it himself. I think he's going to have a surprise guest like he's had J.J. Watt in the past or Joe Montana. I think they're going to use his established brand ambassador and bring in other people into the fold to see if they can extend the celebrity brand. So I'm going to go with 2, which gives me the over.
All right, this is the hardest one. This is the best line of all the prop bets, the hardest one to pick. I'm going to say the under just because it's a year later, and honestly, Peyton Manning's not relevant. He hasn't played in the NFL in a year. I think people don't really care about him that much anymore. If he does the Papa John spot, people be like, oh, okay, he's kind of known for that, but like, we're not getting an Omaha Steaks commercial anymore. I think 1, that's it.
I got 7 syllables for you. Peyton Manning on TV. I think he still sells, so I got to go with Melissa. Here, Sep.
I'm getting crushed.
I bring you into the
I'm
play
getting crushed.
clock
I'm getting
and
crushed.
leave you out in the dark, but there's still time to redeem yourself.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this is like Falcons-Packers right now so far.
All right.
So finally moving on to the field, because there will be a game going on despite what a lot of America thinks. Will any player do the famous Dirty Bird touchdown celebration? We haven't seen it in Atlanta in almost 2 decades, but maybe Super Bowl, they'll bring it back. Yes is at -130. So the sports books think we will see a Dirty Bird. No is at +100. Sep, we're going to start with you. 40 seconds on the clock, and go.
This one should be pretty easy. The answer should be no, because it started, 1998? Vic Beasley was 6 years old when the Dirty Bird came out. He doesn't even know what that is, probably. So I can't imagine anyone's going to do it. I would love to see it. As a fan, I think it'd be great. I just can't see one of the players pulling it out.
Yeah, and I agree with you for different reasons. Like, this team wants its own identity. Atlanta is a completely changed community since the Dirty Bird was last danced. Also, the person most synonymous with the Dirty Bird, Jamal Anderson, hasn't had the best retirement, shall we say. I think he might be in jail, and I don't think any players want to be associated with him.
I agree that I would like to see the Dirty Bird.
It'd be great.
But I'm with you guys that it probably will not happen during this game. And I'm shocked that Vegas actually thinks we'll see one on the field. See,
No, I
it's stuff
agree
like
with
that that makes me wonder if anything is a little bit cooked. It's conspiracy theory. Of course, we had to get one in here. And finally, topic 5,
Okay.
Deflategate. I hate saying it. I know you guys don't think it's a story, but it's still out there. And right now, the line on how many times the words Deflategate will be said during the broadcast are 2.5. So over under 2.5 times. They have the same odds. Melissa, we'll start with you. 40 seconds on the clock. And go.
Okay, so I way disagree with you. I think this is the biggest story of the week. This is like the karmic revenge. I think it's going to be way, way, way over, especially if the Pats are blowing them out in the fourth quarter and we're awaiting that trophy presentation. I mean, what else are they going to talk about? I think it's, I mean, they're probably utter at the beginning when they talk about it missing the first 4 games. And then as we're approaching that moment, I mean, they're going to fill time, Deflategate, 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 like, I don't know, 10 times.
I don't want to hear Deflategate once.
Deflategate.
I'm done. I'm done with it. I don't think anyone wants to hear it anymore. We're all finished hearing about it. The answer should be 0. I think the only time you could hear about it is at the end of the game, and I don't know if this even counts because it's after the game, it would be during the trophy presentation. If the Patriots win and they're like talking about, you know, Roger Goodell handing the trophy over, you might get it there.
I agree with Melissa. Again, Seth, I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's fine. You know what? You guys can have your takes, and then when I'm all right, we'll go back to the video and I'll prove you both wrong.
I'll send some money your way.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate it.
And I guess we'll have to wait and see. I know I'm eager.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thanks
it
for
should be a great one.
Thanks for joining me, guys, here on the Play Clock. And stay tuned for Super Bowl 51. Bowl 51.
College football season is over, which means it's time for the glorious madness that is the NFL draft. And this week, all eyes are on the Reese's Senior Bowl, where prospects have the opportunity to show NFL scouts and coaches, I'm the one you want. Here are a few players who could do just that. Quarterback Davis Webb has the work ethic and leadership ability to really separate himself this week. The former Cal Bear even flew to Mobile 2 days early and set up a throwing session with South Alabama receivers. Talk about initiative. In 2016, he was near the top of the list in every statistical category, including 6th in passing yards with almost 4,300. He's projected late 4th, early 5th round. Now, people in Mobile are buzzing about wide receiver Cooper Kupp. Gosh, I love that name. Kupp had an incredible career at Eastern Washington, setting D1 career records for receiving yards, receptions, and touchdowns. He's big, he can run, he's productive. Think Eric Decker. Kupp could go in the 2nd round. On defense, there are some notable cornerbacks, but you can't go wrong with a DB out of LSU. Tre'Davious White has a 1st-round grade, and an impressive showing this week will cement that. One of the nation's most improved players in 2016, he's got the versatility and the ball skills that coaches want. Now, these games always have a sleeper prospect who will wake everyone up, and this week I'm looking at NC State's Matt Days. At 5'10", 203, he's not the biggest running back out there, but he's certainly efficient. Days racked up more than 1,100 yards his senior season, becoming his school's first 1,000-yard rusher since 2002. Look for Days to shoot up draft boards after this week. Now, anyone looking to impress at the Senior Bowl should take some advice from last year's MVP, Dak Prescott, who tweeted, "Don't take a meeting, practice rep, or walking through the lobby lightly. You're being evaluated." Prescott continued, "Honestly though, I think the key to success at the Senior Bowl is to eat as many Reese's as you can. It worked for me. Hashtag 20 packs a day is the way." Dak, I think you're onto something.
Taking a break from the Super Bowl talk for a moment, it's still anyone's guess as to who will be the top pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. If you believe Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney, whoever passes on quarterback Deshaun Watson will live to regret it. Here's what the coach said. "I'm just telling you, if they pass on Deshaun Watson, they're passing on Michael Jordan. I'm just telling you. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm just an old, funky college coach, but Deshaun Watson is the best by a long shot," end quote. So, guys, we know Deshaun Watson declined his invitation to the Senior Bowl, even though Hugh Jackson, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, who have the #1 pick, is a coach in that game and wanted Watson to play. Nate, do you still feel like Deshaun Watson will go #1 overall to Cleveland?
So let me get this right. He said, "You're passing on Michael Jordan?"
Yeah.
Is that how it went?
You have a better Southern
Okay,
accent.
Michael Jordan, listen, right out the gate.
No pressure, no
Making
pressure.
that comparison? Well, we've seen some good things from Deshaun Watson. We've seen some flashes of excellence, and everybody loves a quarterback with that pizzazz, that it factor. But we also seen some turnovers. We've seen some carelessness with the ball, and in this league, I don't care how good you are, if you can't protect the ball, take care of the ball, then I'm not sure you're going to be the #1 guy. What we saw in Michael Jordan coming out of college was a pretty damn good college player that stepped up in big moments and made shots. And that was one thing I said, big moments, made shots. Big moments, when he's there, the guy usually shows up. So there's something to be said about playing on the stage in the bright lights, because every game in the NFL is a big stage in bright lights.
Well, I mean, when it comes to drafting quarterbacks, we've seen Cleveland pass on some good ones before, so they could pass. Sounds like you're in the draft Sam Bowie camp, because I think Deshaun Watson is a real deal. Look at the teams he beat, Ohio State and Alabama. There's like 11 pros on those defenses.
Yeah.
He's the only guy we've seen play pro defenses in college.
It's true.
He tore them apart. You know, Mitch Trubisky, how many games has this guy played? The North Carolina quarterback.
Right.
13. DeShone Kizer's got flaws. So to me, Watson's the most complete product. Now, Michael Jordan, that's tough. I think he was emphasizing the passing part.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't want to pass on this guy, you'll regret it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's saying, but man, I'm a big Watson fan going back to last year. Nate, do you think that he peaked a year early? Like, the problem is he set the bar so high for himself that maybe the next year he couldn't follow up on that.
That could be it, but it's also a good thing, too, because we've seen him at his very height, and we also seen him at almost a little bit above average. And now you can assess everything equally. We're not just saying, oh, he's great and he doesn't have any weaknesses. Now whoever picks him can literally look at his college film and say, okay, here's what you're really good at. Your strengths are here. Let's build on those. But here's your weaknesses. Let's try to bring those up to where your strengths are and make you a complete NFL quarterback.
I'm just curious if the Browns are thinking about taking him in either the first overall pick or any subsequent picks, if they are a little offended that he didn't want to play in the Senior Bowl. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah.
All right, Ben Roethlisberger is feeling uncertain about his future. The 34-year-old quarterback recently made this comment to a radio station in Pittsburgh. He says, I'm going to take this offseason to evaluate, to consider all options, to consider health and family and things like that, and just kind of take some time away to evaluate next season. If there's going to be a next season, like dun dun dun. I mean, this is not the first time, Nate, that we've seen Ben Roethlisberger, reevaluate his career. Is this actually sending a message, you think, to the team, to the organization about falling short this year?
It's sending a message to the organization, but I feel like it's sending a message to the team, to his teammates, saying, listen, I only got so many more years where I can do this. And if we're going to have certain guys in the lineup, whether you're Antonio Brown or the young role players, you're going to have to step up and make plays. He got a lot of flack for saying that certain guys weren't ready for the moment. And listen, I don't care that he said it. If anybody on this roster can say that honestly, it's Big Ben. If certain guys were a little bit, caught off by the bright lights of this big stage in the postseason, then Big Ben should be able to say that. Now, will these guys step up next year? Time will tell. What we do know right now is Big Ben is a Hall of Famer. He's been there twice and won 2 Super Bowl rings. He is a great quarterback in this league right now in this era. How much more does he have to play for? So after emotional loss, being let down, being one of the best offenses in the league, he probably sat back and a lot of pain in his body, pain in his heart, and thought, you know what? I'm just going to throw this out there, and we'll see if anybody bites on it.
Speaking of pain in the body, tell us, what does it feel like after you finished an NFL season?
Well, after you finish the NFL season, you're emotionally exhausted. And I'm speaking for the guys that are sitting at home and have to watch a Super Bowl, because you think to yourself, we could have been there. We had the talent. Just like everybody else, we started 0-0, and we could have been at the top of the mountain and won a Super Bowl. But then you have to consider the fact that a guy like Big Ben, who has made money, he's got the jewelry in his jewelry box. What else does he need to accomplish?
Right.
So now you're going to add on the fact that you're so spent emotionally, and then physically, your body's saying, listen, you're not 22 years old anymore, man. It's going to be harder to get back up for a season. Think about it. Big Ben has had some type of injury every season for the last handful of years. So it's inevitable for him to get banged up again, which is most likely next year. So he has to spend all of offseason not only getting his body right, but then kind of reconditioning your mind. Here we go again.
He got injured this year and missed a week.
But come on, he's injuring lower body stuff. He doesn't have, head injuries forced out guys like Aikman and Steve Young.
Yeah.
But Big Ben, I think, can play for a long time. To me, I think we're going to see quarterbacks play longer because they don't take as much wear and tear. They wear the red jersey. The rules favor them. You can't hit them. And it's a mental game. Now I feel like the quarterback is doing more mental things than he is physical, reading defenses, picking. Yeah. So I think if he wanted to, he could play 40. Brady wants to play to 45. Right. I feel Big Ben is that kind of quarterback, too. I know he says right now. But like you said, players say that a lot. I've covered players like you who've said, I'm tired at the end of the season, and then they change their mind.
But not everybody is Tom Brady or Big Ben in this situation.
Quarterbacks are not receivers.
Quarterback is different. Yeah. But I feel like the game is changing with the amount of money guys are making and the impact that they have, not only from a production standpoint on the field, but from a branding perspective. These guys can walk away if you're Calvin Johnson or Marshawn Lynch after 8 or 9 years and still be just as popular off the field. This isn't the old days. This isn't the 90s, early 2000s where when you leave, we immediately forget about you. Now, if you accomplish just a little bit, guys will remember you forever. And Big Ben is one of those, if he walked away right now, people will always remember Big Ben because he's won and he's his figure and who he is. I mean, it's so domineering. So, for me, it's not about, how long he's going to play. It's about what he's done so far and will that impact his decision to come back.
It's a great point. Speaking of a quarterback who's done absolutely nothing yet is going to be remembered forever, Johnny Manziel says he is sober and he wants another shot at playing professional football. Nate, great that he wants to get sober. We're not going to joke about that. That is truly a good thing. Yeah. But would you take a chance on him?
It depends. It really depends on what we see. I said this when I heard this news. Enough of the tweets, enough of, trying to tell us what you're going to do. You got to show us. In the years past, last year, he showed us everything else. He showed us the lifestyle. He showed us the parties. He showed us the courtside seats. He showed us Vegas. Now, show us the workouts. Show us the dedication. Show us that you are a guy that can get back in shape and put his mind back into the books. I'm kind of an advocate for Johnny Manziel because I feel like if you won the Heisman and you've done so much in college, there's no way you can just wash all that away. You have to have some type of talent and some type of impact in the league. But, who knows if they're going to give him a chance? Yeah. I seen him in person. I was in Cleveland for a few months before I retired. And there was moments where I said, damn, this kid's going to be good. Yeah. He got something. He has that it factor. And then there's moments where I said, and where's Johnny at? He should be in his meeting room studying his playbook. So there's the balance that we all find that we have to kind of toe the line with Johnny. And if he can make that definite one way or the other, then it'll make the decision easier.
Well, teams be scared, though. They don't want the media attention. Like Tim Tebow probably didn't get as many shots because they don't want that horde of media coming to camp and asking a lot of Johnny questions.
Well, that's also the first Tebow-Manziel comparison that I've ever heard.
And also, it's not like such an easy fit. He was an okay quarterback, but he's a little shorter. You have to fit him into a particular system. He doesn't have a physical skill set that's so overwhelming. Teams are willing to take a risk. But I will say there are a lot of guys who turn their lives around. Kerry Collins, mid-career, got sober, changed his life. Post-career, Ryan Leaf is a resurgence. He was in jail, and now he just recently got hired by Fox. Guys turn their lives around black and white. So I think that's the key. Like you said, Maggie, he's got to stay sober.
Here's the thing. If you're a fan of a team that needs a quarterback, like say you are a New York Jets fan, if you are a Chicago Bears fan, are you saying I'd rather have Johnny Manziel than Christian Hackenberg? Would I rather have Johnny Manziel than Matt Barkley? Would I rather take the chance on Manziel than a guy who's there right now but is not inspiring a lot of confidence?
Yeah, the number 2 position, it could be open for a guy like Johnny. But he got to clean up first.
Yeah, that's number 1. Guys, great show. Thank you so much. How fun was it having Cameron on here? Thank you all for watching. We're going to be joining you from Radio Row and Super Bowl 51. So we will see you in Houston. Take care.